As a person who works in public education, this is incredibly concerning. Because if you have ever been on a public high school campus in America, you likely have seen military recruiters. And I can easily see ICE using this as a recruiting tactic. And if you are a person who has never seen a military recruiter on a school campus, I wrote a short story about what that looks like. And today I would like to read you a sneak peek. Amber's son became distracted by a pair of boys in camouflage suits, standing in front of a table covered in plastic bottles, cheap pens, brochures, stickers, and miniature flags as they yelled down at the passing students. Do you love your country? Are you brave enough to serve your nation? If so, the United States Army is the organization for you. Amber's son loved his country, and he had always been the bravest kid in the 7th grade. So while the rest of his friends prepared to race, he approached the boys in camouflage suits instead. Hello, he said. My mother's name is Amber. I love my country, and I'm also the bravest kid in the 7th grade. Always have been. He shook hands with both boys. My mother's name is Doris, said one. My mother's name is Angelica, said the other. The sons of Doris and Angelica spent the rest of the lunch break telling the son of Amber about the time they fought in a war. They told him about how they got to fly in a plane overseas, and how they got to ride in a tank and shoot guns and smoke cigarettes and drink whiskey and tell stories around the campfire and write letters home, and how their commander taught them how to shave. I want to go to war, said Amber's son. Well, said one of the boys, you can. He grabbed a piece of paper from the table and handed it to Amber's son. The paper had just 3 sentences on it. Those sentences went like this. I hereby acknowledge that my life may be lost in war. I acknowledge that if my life is to be lost in war, it will have been lost for the greatest of causes. And finally, I acknowledge that from this day forward, my government's enemy is eternally my enemy. Beneath those sentences were 3 lines. The first line had already been signed by the commander-in-chief. The following lines still needed signatures. The first line was to come from Amber's son. The second was to come from Amber herself. When Amber's son returned home, he was quick to put the permission slip in front of his mom. Mommy, he said, I met these soldiers at school today, and they told me all about the war they were in, and how they stayed in tents with all their friends, and shot guns, and smoked cigarettes, and drank whiskey. Can I go to war, Mommy? Please? Can I join the U.S. Army? Please, Mommy, please. I want to help my country. I want to save America. I want to be a patriot. Amber looked at her son and knew she hadn't a choice in her response. The answer had already been determined on her behalf. After all, how could a mother say no to such a thing? How could a mother deny her son the right to be a patriot? So she picked up the pen and signed her name between the signatures of her son and the President of the United States. Now, obviously, this story is satirical in nature, but this is how it works. These recruiters get to these kids when they are young, when they are super impressionable. And they plant the seed in their mind that this is how you serve your country, that this is how they keep their friends and their family safe. And so this, to me, is incredibly dangerous.